Okay, here's bin number one, and let's see what we got here. And there's Marvel stuff, yeah, okay. Monster movie calendar. Oh, this is cool. Evel Knievel plaque from one of the comic book ads, man. That is so hot right now. And we got here. Here are the boxes for the Evel Knievel stuff. Here's the box for the stunt cycle there. And here is, oh, this is really awesome. This is his tour van, the scramble van, and got this in the box. I'd love to pull this thing out and set it up, because this is an awesome, awesome toy, but you know, a lot of time to do that. But this is such a awesome, awesome, cool toy. And I'm missing a couple of pieces, but it's almost complete. Box has seen better days, but that's radical awesome. And well, Wonder Woman Christmas ornament, Evel Knievel rocket cycle, die-cast miniature. And what do we got here? This is the Evel Knievel Safari Evel Knievel. And here's his safari gear, an extra helmet. Here's an extra Evel Knievel with his, I think that's the Crash Crew helmet. And here's an extra Evel Knievel suit. And here's some Evel Knievel swag that I got from my job. A couple of pictures of George Hamilton playing him from Evel Knievel, the movie. And this is some promotional stuff for the film. And that's it for this bin. Okay, next bin. Here's the original Kenner Millennium Falcon from the 80s, late 70s. Actually, I think it was the 80s. Absolutely incomplete, absolutely in poor condition. My brother David gave this to me. I think he found it at like a yard sale or something, or a Goodwill store. But needs a lot of work. Eventually, I'd like to restore this, or just get a new one. Here is, this is contemporary. This is the, is it Heroes, Hero Squad Star Wars stuff. Always, I love the Snowspeeder. One of my favorite Star Wars vehicles, the Snowspeeders and the AT-ATs. Had to get this, man, that's totally cool. Here's a Star Destroyer model. This was, I think this was like late 80s or something that I built this. But here's a Iron Man box. Actually had some old Iron Man comic books with the covers that were in such poor shape. And I had seen someone that had done this with like light switches, doorknobs. There's some artist that does this wrapping stuff with vintage comic books, and then he shellacks them. I haven't shellacked this yet, and it's starting to come apart, but when I get this done, that'll be awesome. You know, and here's a Transformer. This is one of the Beast Wars Transformers, and this is really cool, but I'm afraid to untransform it because I don't think I'll be able to get it back. But I got this at the Goodwill store for like 99 cents or 80 cents or something. Star Wars Halloween mask. This is contemporary. I think it's like last Halloween or something. It was cheap. I think I got it like after Halloween for like 50 cents or something like that. But that's it for this bin. Okay, so this is bin 2, bin 3, I don't know. Folks, I'm going to go quick here because there's a lot of stuff to go through here. So I'm going to try to go quick. Andy Griffith DVD, Batman VHS, the original Bat clips. Here's a Batmania VHS. You know, you hang on to VHSs because some of them are really groovy. And there's a lot of music in here, some Hot Wheels that look like the Andy Griffith police sheriff's car. So I've got some of those, and these are really cool. These are Top Cops, I think is the name of these. They're like Hot Wheels, but they're really, really well done, and they're all like all these old vintage police sheriff cars. And here's some Alice Cooper CDs, T-Rex, Ramones. These things I consider collectibles because any good copy of a Ramones live performance in New York, or one of the Ramones early albums, to me is a collectible. And I dig on Ramones stuff, dig on Cooper stuff, obviously. Cooper, T-Rex, big T-Rex fan. His stuff I consider collectibles. Alice Cooper. Oh boy, and we got T-Rex. Here's Alice Cooper 8-track. Alice Cooper Goes to Hell on 8-track. Here's some old Alice Cooper cassettes, and this is funny. This is an old T-Rex 2-in-1. It's two T-Rex albums on one cassette, and it was back when cassettes had actual cardboard cases. And here's one of the classic plastic cassette cases. But this is a great thing right here, an old cassette in a cardboard box. This is an old Alice Cooper, one of his early albums, School's Out, on cassette. And this is one of the early cassette cases that was actually open on the end. It wasn't just like the regular closing book type. Here's a Billion Dollar Babies Battle Axe. This is the Alice Cooper Band. They put out an album after they broke up with Alice Cooper, the band leader, and they put out an album as the Billion Dollar Babies. This is a fantastic album. It sounds like a vintage Alice Cooper album, but just without Alice Cooper himself singing. But this is a great album and a really rare piece of music to have a copy of. Here I've got a Alice Cooper card set that I made. I made some card sets out of Kiss and Alice Cooper and T-Rex. It was something I was kind of getting into as a hobby for a while, making my own card sets. Make your own card set, it's one of a kind, and I went to a lot of trouble on these, and actually put information about the releases and information about the history of the band and Cooper himself. So this is a one-of-a-kind item that I have no idea what it would be worth to a Cooper collector. Alice Cooper action figure. This was cool. I got this for $1 because they just weren't selling, man. I couldn't believe they weren't selling. $1 for that. Here's some T-Rex cards, so the T-Rex card set that I made. Because T-Rex is just awesome. He's, liked him at the same time when I was a kid. Alice Cooper, Kiss, T-Rex. It all kind of goes into around the same area for me. This bin has a lot of stuff in it. Here's a book, 100,000 Pinups. And why I have this considered in my collection is there are several pages in here of reproductions of Betty Page from some early movies like Titter, and some of those, 60s nudie photography magazines. But there's several pages in here, some Betty Page magazine layouts. So that's part of my, Betty Page collection. And the rest of this bin, what is this? This is an Alice Cooper scrapbook. This is pretty much, nothing real significant in here. Just some Alice Cooper and T-Rex stuff. Alice Cooper on the cover of Fangoria. When I saw this, I was like, oh man, sweet, had to get it. Ordered it off eBay, was the only place I could find it. But that's just an awesome magazine, Fangoria, This is pretty cool. This is a VHS copy of Rockin' Road Trip. For anyone that knows Trauma Film, they're the company that did Toxic Avenger, Class of Nukem High, Sergeant Kabuki, Samurai, NYPD. But Trauma, did a lot of independent films in the 80s and 90s, a lot of horrible films. This isn't one of their most horrible films, but it isn't one of their greatest films like Toxic Avenger. But the reason that I have this is because my wife is in this movie. She has maybe 10 lines, and she's maybe in about 7 minutes of the film. And she's not proud of it because she kind of plays a hoe. She's not proud of it, but I totally dig it. This is one of my favorite items that that I didn't put in the creme de la creme setup earlier. And here these are actual Alice Cooper cards that came out of the original Billion Dollar Babies album from the 70s. These are the actual cards that used to pop out of the album. They had collector's cards in the album. And these are, I think this is just about the whole set from that album. These are all original Alice Cooper on vinyl. My brother Mike gave these to me. These are the albums he had when he was a kid. At some point he decided that he couldn't keep them or didn't want to keep them or for whatever reason, but he was going to get rid of them. I said, oh no man, you have to give them to me, and I've had them ever since. This is a 45 of How You Gonna See Me Now, really, really rare, and some of these albums are in great shape as far as playability. Some of them not so great because my brother and I listened to these when I was a kid. But Killers, gosh, I think all of the Alice Cooper vintage albums, Love It to Death, Muscle of Love, Greatest Hits, Goes to Hell. See, some of them aren't in great shape, but I mean, they've got all of Cooper's vintage albums, The Cooper Show, How You Gonna See Me Now. Cooper went through a punk phase where he totally like went punk in the early 80s. And a lot of people stopped listening to him because they're like, man, I listen to classic rock, not punk. But he started going punk with Lace and Whiskey, Zipper Catches Skin. This is For Britain Only. This is like one of his punk albums that really did quite well. This is a really hard album to find on vinyl. Dada, some of his later stuff. Constrictor. Flush the Fashion was when he absolutely first went punk. This is a great album, but it's not, a lot of people don't get into it because it's a diversion from Cooper's main direction. Special Forces, that's a great punk album. Billion Dollar Babies, Welcome to My Nightmare, Easy Action, and this is Alice Cooper's very first album. I wish it was in better shape, but this is his first album on vinyl, and it actually is still playable. The cover doesn't look like it, but the album's in decent shape. I actually dubbed this to a MP3 about a year ago. And T-Rex, The Slider, which is, you know, a quintessential glam rock album. So that's about it for this bin, I think. Yep. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So on to the next bin. I'm wearing the Doctor Who shirt. This is the Van Gogh TARDIS episode shirt. So you see Rolling Stone with Darth Vader. Post with Darth Vader, magazine about post-production. This is a Star Wars wall measuring chart. I'm not going to pull this out, but this is like 5 feet tall, and you put it up on the wall and you measure it as you get taller. Cool thing. This is vintage. This is a Darth Vader singing, breathing birthday card, you know, or this Star Wars birthday card. Yeah, like you said, you know, you manage to accumulate a lot of stuff. People give you stuff, but this is what is this? Oh, this is the Darth Vader birthday card. Yeah. So, you know, the stuff that you accumulate, the amount of stuff you accumulate, oh man, it's crazy sometimes. Try to keep everything, but you can't keep everything. Here's a box from the original C-3PO model. I don't think the model's in here, but there are some other models. Oh, this is a TIE Fighter. The whole model's in there, but it's in the wrong box. I don't have this model, but this is an awesome box. You know, eventually, maybe one day I'll find the model to go in it. Here's a Star Wars puzzle. This is contemporary. It's prismatic or holographic. The reason I got this is because this is obviously, you know, I mean, it's Empire. It's not the new Star Wars movies. Won't even go into that. But this the other puzzle, the puzzle of all of the Star Wars characters' faces, is awesome puzzle. So that's cool. Here's another one of those boxes like what I did with that Iron Man comic book. I was going to make a Star Wars one too. I obviously need to finish this because it's a shame, but this was an old ragged out Star Wars comic book that I cut up, and if it was all together, it's actually really impressive looking. But sometime later, Stormtrooper Spiral Notebook. It's a kite. I have the kite in another bin. what is this? Star Wars wrapping paper. Here's some Star Trek stuff stuck in this Star Wars box, man. The Trekkies would get me for that. Here's a bunch of Star Trek cassettes. The music from the series, the music from Search for Spock, music from Next Generation, the motion picture, Wrath of Khan, Generations, Voyager, Deep Space Nine. The Astral Symphony does the music from the Star Trek movie. What is this? Oh, this is Star Trek from the movie. It's the guy that did the new Star Trek movie. Why can I not? J.J. Abrams. This is from the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie. I've got a couple of, quite a bit of stuff from the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie. The toys really turned out to be shelf warmers. They didn't sell real well. So I got a lot of stuff like for $2 and $3, you know, after, you know, they didn't sell well and they got reduced down. Here's a bunch of old vintage Star Wars vinyl. Music from the movie. Some of these are in good shape, some of them not so good shape. Same with the Cooper albums. Empire Strikes Back, The Adventures of Luke Skywalker, the original Star Wars. This is actually in very, very good shape, this vinyl, the original Star Wars album, and this is actually an old pressing. This is not a repressing from the 90s or the 80s. This is from the 70s. Story of The Empire Strikes Back, which is it's kind of like a teleplay of the movie. Return of the Jedi music, the story of Star Wars. Man, I listened to this thing so much when I was a kid. I used to put this album on, and the old turntables, you know, when they got done with the record, the arm would go back up, pop down and start the record and play it again. And I listened to this thing over and over and over. I loved it. Back then, you know, you couldn't just go and put Star Wars in your DVD player, your VHS, and just watch it anytime you wanted. So to experience the movie at any time through this album was very, very cool as a kid. Boris Midney music from The Empire Strikes Back. Here's some more Star Wars stuff. Here's The Warriors on vinyl, music from the film. Here's the story of Star Wars. This is the actual one that I played over and over and over, and as you can tell, it's in pretty crappy condition. The album didn't even survive. I have no idea what happened to the record itself. It probably just turned into dust. The T-Rex, The Warrior. This album is actually in really, really good playable condition. This is vintage. This is actually a pressing from 1971, I believe, 1972. No, that's 71. I think this is 72, but these are both original, and these are actually in good playable condition. Story of the Return of the Jedi. Story of the Return of the Jedi. This is also kind of like the teleplay of the movie. So there's a bunch of Star Wars and other stuff on vinyl. And that's it for this bin. Let's go to the next one. Okay. Next bin. This is all Exorcist stuff. Got the Exorcist t-shirt to prove it. Here's a scrapbook. This is a bunch of Exorcist stuff, you know, stuff about the original case. News article, copies, some old pictures of Linda Blair, backstory, stuff about the culture of exorcism in the Catholic Church and all that. Kind of dig on some of that stuff. Newspaper clippings. I'll tell you about this later. Linda Blair, Pazuzu action figure. This is a picture that Linda Blair signed to me. It says, "To Johnny, sweet dreams, Linda Blair." A good friend of mine got this for me. I didn't actually meet her to get this picture, but my friend knew that I was a big Linda Blair fan, so you know, he got that for me. Now this one I did actually meet her. This is Linda Blair with her 2 dogs, and she signed it from her, and she's also signed it from her 2 dogs. And I met her at the Mad Monster convention and got this from her in person. Here's a picture of me and Linda Blair at the Mad Monster convention. Stuff about Linda Blair's animal foundation, the World Heart Foundation. We got, this is an Exorcist 3 press kit that I got from my job at the station I work at, and this is from the Exorcist 3. There's some photos, some production photos. I got some promotional slides here. And this is really cool. I have no idea what something like this is worth, but you know, to me, it's you know, it's pretty cool. I have no idea what I'd pay for it, but it's pretty cool. This is Tubular Bells on vinyl. This is the record is in pristine shape. This is the music from The Exorcist. This is a 33-minute song that was kind of coined down to that 3-minute music from The Exorcist that everybody recognizes. But this is the original release of Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield. This is the St. Christopher necklace, I think it's St. Christopher, that Linda Blair wears in the film The Exorcist. This is a reproduction of the film prop. Got that on eBay. I don't even remember what I paid for it, but not much. Here's a Ouija board. I have this because there's a Ouija board in the film, and that's how Linda Blair talked to Captain Howdy. Here's the planchette, and I have, here's the little shield for the planchette. Must not lose the planchette shield. But, you know, some people are freaked out about the Ouija board. My uncle and one of my brothers said that he wouldn't even have one in his house and that I should get rid of it immediately. And I said that, you know, I wasn't that superstitious, and I'm still not. So, but that's really cool. I took this to the Mad Monster convention and asked Linda Blair if she would sign it, and she wouldn't sign it. She said, no, I don't mess with those things. She said she was a religious person and that she wouldn't do that. So that's why I got the picture of her, the autograph picture of her and her dogs, which was cool with me. I totally understand that, you know, totally dig that. Here's the novel, The True Story of an Exorcism. This is the actual case that the film was based on. This is a fairly trustable source on the original case. Here's an old vintage copy of the novel, The Exorcist. Here is, this is relevant, but it's oddly relevant. This is Un Film Americano in Italian. This is one of the first little films that I made. Me and my wife went to Italy visiting her family, and we actually witnessed a exorcism by this guy named Vittorio, who had stigmata and all of this stuff, and we actually witnessed him exorcising some demons out of this lady. And that's actually on this, so this kind of goes in my little Exorcist collection here. Here's an early film project. It's a script I wrote, but I never filmed it. It was called Toastercism. But here's the t-shirt from that. It's kind of, you know, it's seen better days, but goofy stuff that you managed to keep. Cross, a Halloween prop from a couple of Halloweens ago when I dressed up as Father Karras. Here's a novel, The Manitou, which is it was kind of capitalizing on that whole exorcism craze, demon craze that Hollywood kind of had after the success of the film The Exorcist. Here's another copy of the William Peter Blatty's novel, The Exorcist. It's a newer print. It's not the original purple copy. Here is The Ninth Configuration. This is a novel by William Peter Blatty that was made into a film, strange film, but I really like William Peter Blatty's books. I've read almost every book that I have by him. This is the novel of Legion. This is actually the continuation of The Exorcist. It actually should be called The Exorcist Part 2, but it was actually kind of made into the film at The Exorcist 3. But this is a fantastic, fantastic novel. It's not really a horror novel, but this is a fantastic novel, fantastic work by William Peter Blatty. Here's a cult classics action figure statuette of Linda Blair from the spider crawl, the spider walk down the stairs. I got this. They didn't sell very well, so I think I got these for each $5 a piece. So I got one to open and one to not open. So I have one of those that is still unopened. Here's another William Peter Blatty novel, Demons 5, Exorcist Nothing. This is an odd book. I didn't finish it, but it's a William Peter Blatty book, so I'm going to hang on to it. Here's an Exorcist kit from the film Lost Souls. I thought that was a terrible movie about demonic possession, But I like this little Exorcist kit. It has holy water, and it has a little rosary and some incense. So that was a neat little promotional item. And here's a prop from when I was Father Karras for Halloween, the Holy Bible Exorcist edition. It's really the Devil's Guide to Hollywood. I thought it was an ironic book to use as a exorcist prop. And then the last thing in this bin of Exorcist stuff is Mysteries of the Unexplained. This book actually has a nice article on the possession of Annalise Michael, which the film The Exorcism of Emily Rose was based on. This was the first time that I ever found any documentation on the Annalise Michael case, and it's a pretty good article, so I have this book in the Exorcist collection. And cool, that's it for this bin.